Hi, everyone. Before we get started, just wanted to provide an update on something that we talked about 2 episodes ago. As many of you are likely aware, on August 20th, around 12:47 a.m. in the morning, Fur Affinity went down, and there's a lot of ink that's been spilt on what happened, but to very quickly summarize, someone hijacked Fur Affinity's domain and then began to redirect people to various websites, including Kiwi Farms, a Washington Post article, etc., etc. Said person also hijacked the Twitter profile of both Fur Affinity as well as Dragoneer. And a lot of this was done at a time when Fur Affinity was obviously quite vulnerable given Dragoneer's recent passing. Now, I'm not here to kind of provide you an update and give all of the details per se as to what went down. There's been many threads that have been shared about it, including, in fact, my own. And I will say to my chagrin, I am now on Know Your Meme, which, again, absolutely wild chain of events. But the one thing I wanted to kind of add on here before we get started with this week's episode is the fact that a lot of folks listening to our episode about Dragoneer said that, to put it bluntly, said that we were perhaps a little bit doom posting in terms of our concerns around the site's future. And of course, this can happen to anyone, but I think our episode has aged quite well rather quickly given everything that's gone down. So if you are interested in learning more as to what actually happened with the Fur Affinity debacle, as it were, we'll have a link in the show notes to my thread as well as another person's thread. Hakopla, I believe is their name, just talking a little bit as to what actually went down. And to be clear, the hacker did not lose $300,000. I know that that's been some misinformation that's been floating around, but it's always good to stay critical, y'all, of those sorts of wild claims. In any case, we want to mention it at the top because it felt like it was a pertinent follow-up, but I'm very excited to be sharing the episode today. A quick note about its sound quality. We recorded in a live setting, so to speak, and so using what audio recording equipment we did have. Some of it isn't quite to the level of quality that we would normally have, but I think that you'll agree if you listen that the contents are pretty good, and I'm quite proud of the discussion that Libra and I were able to corral in. So without further ado, here's this week's episode.
Welcome to a live TF People experience here at the local chat time. Well, not very local because we're downtown and none of us fucking live here.
I live here.
You don't live here.
Are you doxing yourself?
Thank God this is off the record.
I mean, we don't know which time we are in down.
There's, what's the science say? 2,700,000 something odd thousand people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay.
Downtown's a big place.
Okay, anyway, yes, hello everybody. This is TF Tuesday, and I'm not the guy who usually opens the episode, but if you don't know my voice yet, I don't know, try to memorize it.
This could also be their first episode. You never know.
You don't know.
So what's your name?
My name
Yeah,
is a secret.
You're committing the cardinal furry sin.
Because I am scared to talk to people in real life about this.
About what?
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say it.
Okay, let me be the competent furry to cut in. So, hi everyone, it's Bill. Welcome to the TFTuesday Podcast.
Don't tell him to leave it. Don't.
Okay, so I'm not saying that. And we're doing this recording actually because of a result of our wonderful contributors at Patreon. On our Patreon, you can join up and give us money so we can shoot the shit, but also suggest topics for episodes, including this one, which, as it so happened to be, was how do you meet people in person outside of conventions? And so we thought, well, fuck, Zill runs this monthly TF dinner. Maybe we should just fucking bring the fucking recording thing to one and talk about it.
Yeah. And so, other participants, please sound off if you'd like to. We can hear you.
I'll actually start this because I have the fun thing. So, if you're a seasoned listener, you may recognize my voice. from an interlude episode. What, two?
Interlude 1.
Yeah, interlude 1. What was that? 2 odd years
Almost
ago.
2 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Stormy. I live in Richmond, Virginia. What am I doing in Toronto?
I don't know. I dragged you here.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
That's what I do.
Yeah, no, actually, I know they say you should never do this, but I'm going to timestamp this date. My birthday is tomorrow, and I, wanted to come out and visit some friends of mine.
Yeah.
And one of these friends just so happens to be our wonderful podcast host, who also, through the random sheer luck of the universe, runs a food meet on the very day I just so happened to drive 10 hours out of my country.
Sometimes the cosmos aligns in the strangest
They really
ways.
do. So,
yeah. Well, it's good to have you back, returning guest, Stormy.
Yeah.
Who else would like to?
Sure.
So
I was going to say, my grandparents might have said that it was bashert, Yiddish for it was fated. But yeah, my name's Seadog Driftwood. I've been interested in TF art for well over a decade, probably closer to 15 years. But yeah, I usually more in commissions and occasionally just talking with people. That's the main thing for me.
okay.
Hey, I'm Forebucks. I'm happy to be here. I'm a Toronto local. Been here for almost all of my life.
Hell yeah.
Love the hell out of TF. Forwards and backwards again.
Good.
And one of our favorite TF meet and greet organizers.
Oh, gosh.
I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Forebucks and I run the MFF meet and greet together, and it was the first one that we kind of did in the new format that has then caught on and come to cons like BLFC and AntherCon and FE and all that good stuff. So I think that's important to mention too.
There.
I'm going to give you your kudos.
Look at the shit you guys
Yeah.
do. That's not easy.
Oh.
Well, hi everyone. I'm Koru, Korube. I am a professional Mexican person. By that I mean I jumped two borders to be here. So I guess I am definitely beyond the average Mexican that you may know. I've been living in Canada for about 6 years and been into TF for ever since I had access to the internet, probably. I'm just very happy to be here, support the local community, and just be gay together.
Yeah.
Love that.
You Mexicans have it so easy. All you have to do is walk, and my people got to swim, okay? Or build a
The
fucking
Cubans had
raft.
I walked the desert, okay?
You want the desert? Oh, no sharks.
No, but dehydration. That's why I'm so thirsty.
Yeah, that's why you have to hydrate before
I'm
you
also
dive.
very single, guys. I'm very single. You guys can so many arms. I mean, why go say that?
It's so dark in here.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Finding
Yeah.
fun along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
We've got one single bachelor here, folks.
Yes.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Cataena. I'm not single.
Don't be creepy in her DMs, you fucks.
Don't be creepy in my DMs, thank you.
Yeah, I will find you. And if you think that's tough guy talk, tough fucking shit, leave her alone.
I have two whole boyfriends.
She's tapped out.
wow, Mom. I fucked up the beat format.
Yeah, I've been in Canada forever.
Yeah.
I do IRL TF. I transform in real life. I transform other people in real life. I also do TF in VR, transform other people in VR.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking about what I do. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I hang out. I also go to the TF dinners all the time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And you and I are both actually TF'd up today.
Yeah,
for
we're
our
actually TF'd up today. I have the fangs and the ears and
Yeah.
the everything. Yeah.
And I had the wolf paws on.
Yeah, so is
I have no hands right now.
partially transferred.
There
Yeah,
are no hands.
Literally can't even use their phone right now.
Yeah, the hands went first. The hands went first. So you heard it here.
Just
And you must
play on.
sing.
Oh God.
The hottest way you could have gone.
Yeah.
Aleppo is also wearing a towel. Granted, that goes without stating, as that man
the
is
tail.
quite literally always wearing a tail.
This is true. No matter what is happening, I may be on 0 hours of sleep, 36 hours into being awake, and I will still be wearing a goddamn tail.
Yeah, but you still have good sense. You revert that change whenever you got to go do something like rock climbing and stuff like that, which we got to do some indoor rock climbing
That's true.
this past Sunday. It was a lot of fun.
But there was a small part that hoped I could still wear my lynx tail. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean,
You gotta
it'll-
hook it up to one of your hooks on the back of the harness.
Well, I was worried about it getting dirty with the chalk.
Okay, that's fair too. Yeah, no, that chalk is everywhere.
yeah, rough and
pretty-
tumble tail. You'll need something for that. You got to get like a mountain goat tail or something.
True.
Yeah.
Or deer tail, but I'm
I do
biased.
have a deer tail.
Oh yeah.
You have a deer tail.
Yeah.
I could have. Maybe I should have brought that one.
Are there
If we need it.
moose in the Canadian mountains?
Yes, that's my assigned Canadian TF at birth.
Okay.
Because we get one. That's how it works. So mine was moose. Yeah, it's part of like every month you have to TF into your Canadian animal.
Mine was beaver. Sorry.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Beavers all the way.
I feel bad for those fuckers who got Canadian geese because fuck Canadian geese.
I wouldn't feel sorry for the Canadian geese because I like the old story. When the ancient Canadian wizards decided, okay, there's too much violence happening in this land. We must put all of our anger into one creature. What shall we choose? The cobra chicken.
Yes, the cobra chicken.
I think that's where all the passive aggressiveness comes in. People here try to be mean, but it's all in the geese now.
It is.
So now it's feckless shit.
Yeah, pretty much. And they leave a lot of feckless shit everywhere.
Everywhere.
But yeah, I mean, we get together like every month, and it's funny because you would think that, oh yeah, we all get to know each other, but because a lot of people come to these dinners, it can be difficult to actually get to know each person. So over time, you actually get to build friendships and relationships with people every single time.
You get to mold and change them.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they evolve too and shit like that.
Yeah.
If you count it for Pokemon.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure, whatever. But I know that this is also the kind of thing, these dinners, these get-togethers, is unusual. I don't really hear about anybody else doing this sort of thing.
Because we're the TF capital.
Yes. And New York, get your shit together, please. Can you copy the bus? You're copying the buses. Please copy some of the culture, will you?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's cool because again, a lot of people don't have this kind of thing going on, and they can't really imagine looking face to face at people who are interested in this stuff. That being said, any of you remember how it felt the first time you had the opportunity, and when you actually got to get involved in it? How'd you feel the first time around with the prospect? Who wants to go first?
You mean with the TF dinners?
Yeah, TF dinner. Oh, you want to meet TF people? How do you feel about that?
Well, before these started up, I had been going to furry dinners for a few years. I think I started those in 2009 or something.
Yeah, I went with you. So yes, just a little bit of context. We do know some of these people from just these local furry meetup things, right? But they low-key kind of sucked. And
vibes were rancid.
Yes, and we had to keep eating at the same place, which also sucked and was very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. You paid more for less food and for much, much worse food.
This is truly violence America. Please ignore that we're in Toronto, Canada.
America's everywhere. This is just America.
America's
and
the state of mind.
We are all living in America. Coca-Cola, Wunderbar. So,
You talking about northern Mexico?
That's Texas.
Okay, back on topic. How did you feel at the first TF dinner? There were these furry dinners, and we said the vibes be rancid. Let's yeet, and then we started our own with blackjack and hookers.
Yeah.
So how did it feel the first TF dinner?
Where's the blackjack and hookers?
I'm getting to it. You're supposed to empty your credit card for me. You're a glorious leader.
Do I have a functional credit card?
I believe in you. If you believe in me, just keep believing with your money. Anyway, please answer the question.
So
We're going places.
when these dinners start up, I was like, I need some social contact, and these are people who I already know. So it's okay, I'm gonna do this because God knows the furry dinners are biting in a very nasty way. So wanted to do something monthly to get together with people because I lead a pretty damn lonely life and I don't like it that much. So being able to have human contact or partially human contact or former human contact. Exactly. It matches well with the social instinct, which we all got. And it's just basically a nice kind of anchoring point. It's a place of comfort above all. And that's something that I value a great deal. Being able to be with people who make me feel comfortable and welcome.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad to know it. Anybody else want to chime in with how they felt?
I think so.
You want to go? All right.
I think if I'm not correct, please correct me. I think I'm the newest member that joined most recently.
You and Linko.
At least the most regular new person, because there are people who do show up every now and again, and they're kind of like one-offs.
You're right.
like due to circumstance or anything else, they just like don't show up anymore?
Yeah, I think for me specifically, FE 2023 was my first convention ever, and that's where I realized that a lot of the TF people were here in Toronto. So still is not wrong when he said Toronto the capital of TF, because it really is. And finding out that there was people that not only really like what I was into it, which TF had a hard time climbing around the idea of kings, ideas, whatever that looked like in the furry community. So it was kind of hard to figure out who was into it without getting, looked down into it. So it was really, really nice to like, when I got to my first meeting, even though I was like nervous and I barely met anyone, it was really nice to have that base, the context that these people are here because we like community-wise the same thing. So that kind of already like gave me like a really nice party platform. I think what I have going for me, I'm someone that's very chatty, very easy to like speak around, so it was not difficult for me. But I think for those that are more introverted, there is a sense once you start doing this a lot more daily or more constantly, I guess, that sense of you're seeing the same people over and over again will get it easier as the time goes.
Yeah.
So I feel like where my first meeting was, where I was like chatting and like housework and not figuring out what to do, where I am right now, where I'm like fully flirting across the table to people. Like, switching my hair like I was Beyonce, throwing kisses. Like, I think there has been a moment where I felt a lot more comfortable with the people around the table because they stop being people behind screens and there's people I text daily, people that I invite over to my place. So having that sense of I see them so often really bridges the gap of like, oh, I don't know these people. I'm kind of like, I don't want to talk to them. Now they're like, people are like, hey, do you want to come over? I have pizza. So I find it really nice to have built that sense of community. Slay.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool that like you've gone to have that experience with it as well. So
Yeah, I'd like to actually.
yeah.
Okay.
It's funny you mention that because it's my first experience. I felt like a little bit like a fish out of water because I grew up incredibly traditional, fundamentalist. So talking about things like being furry, talking about things like TF, incredibly difficult to actually to cross sign while I'm talking about traditionalism. Oh, with a middle finger. Huh?
Yeah.
Anywho.
The ADHD is on full display
It
for
is.
everyone right now.
Hell yeah. No, we're so neurotypical. We're so neurotypical.
It's more fun that way.
You need to pay more Patreon money so all of us can afford ADHD meds, please.
Yeah, that's the person who's on the highest dose. Let Four continue.
Let me just give a interrupt for a second. Give a shout out to a prop who I know. I'm sure he's got ADHD because he interrupts brilliantly, and he may not know much about furry, but I think he would love it. I know.
Trust me. You know what? There's too many. There's too much.
Let Four continue. Please let Four continue.
Hey,
I'm going to start roughing this.
This is one name it. Shout outs to Professor Sadovsky.
Okay, go ahead.
Fantastic. Where was that?
You said you grew up fundamentalist.
Yeah, I grew up fundamentalist, and it wasn't normal for me to actually talk about TF, let alone furry.
Yeah.
And when I first came to the first TF dinner, I didn't know anybody. And so it was very easy for me to sit there and be like, I'm going to sit here and eat my meal, hands and lap and whatnot. But one of the lessons I actually learned is that you kind of have to give things a chance, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that's like a spark overnight. Sometimes you got to keep attending events. And over time, like k-libra said, you build those meaningful relationships over time. And I'm actually really happy that I get to come out, spend these weekly. Wow. If it was weekly, that would be something else.
That would be something else.
Monthly events with you guys. It's really neat.
No, I'm really glad to hear that. I think it's interesting because, I mean, I guess I'm ostensibly the person who organizes these now. These dinners started before me. Like you guys had Libra and Cataena had been like going to them before I even ever went to one.
We organized a few of those ourselves.
Yeah.
I called in and made my reservations and everything like that and asked who's coming.
Yeah.
It's work. It's not like a lot of work, but it's something you got to keep track of.
Did I organize the 2014 one? Because that's when we first had the Toronto TF dinner after FE.
I think you did.
Yeah, so I think I organized. It was literally 2014, so like I do not recall the details in the slightest.
Well, I only picked it up after COVID.
So wait, 2014. That means like
I think
isn't it
15 years.
technically like the 10-year anniversary?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, 14. Yeah, the first FE came through was 2015.
Then you had a TF dinner that you organized?
Yeah, I think
Gigi was there. The other Toronto guy was there. There was a few Toronto people. It was at we had a
I think it
photo,
was 2014.
and it was at
Oh.
the Asian restaurant.
Yeah,
The sushi place, you
the one,
remember.
the one
It had to be
Expo,
15.
yeah.
At 14, and then 15 and 15. Sorry,
Wow.
one more year, and we'll have the 10-year anniversary.
All right, we'll have to remember this for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was actually gonna throw in something as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In terms of, like just
I'll go after.
the bit of trying to get out to meet people, it's daunting, especially for a community that's very well known for its, maybe not introvertedness is not quite the right word, but it's a big step for a lot of people, and a lot of people also recognize that. Like, starting small is an easy way. Doing things IRL is kind of terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
I am very much not the person I was had I like tried to do a lot of this stuff back in like 2019. I would have been absolutely terrified to like try and talk to people, especially about like being into some things that are weird.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easier way to put it. It's like starting small, like even just joining some online communities. There's plenty of them out there. Start to get to talk to people in person. This is how I ended up in one way or another meeting Zill, and then later meeting a good host of the folks that are at this table now.
So what you're saying
yeah.
is if you start actually talking to people, you may find a TF artist sleeping on your couch one day.
You know, that might not happen to everyone, but you know, the chance is always there.
The chance is always there.
Indeed, but it's one of those things where it's like, especially getting to talk to people online first can also easily help as well, because it's like, okay, well, I already know how to converse with someone very easily. Granted, now I'm staring at you and your beautiful, luscious eyes.
Thank you.
Oh Lord.
As they rest atop my paws.
Indeed.
Actual paws.
It is, yeah. It's one of those things where it's starting conversations is hard. Starting a lot of things is hard. Talking about things that are incredibly deeply personal, like I deeply desire to be turned into a full toy.
Yeah.
How do you start a conversation like that with someone who you've ostensibly never met?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking to Full Toy Jesus, that's tough. So,
Okay, yeah.
Is there a cool toy Jesus? That's what you say.
That's
Oh, that's you.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's Full Toy Jesus.
Mhm.
There's a long story behind
You're gonna have to tell me that story at some point.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Yeah, like, unfortunately, I'm also like trying to get this in because unfortunately I need to get driving here like sooner rather than later. So I'm trying to get my little bit in here before I have to tragically leave the table.
Well, let me ask this question then.
Yeah.
So, as someone who hasn't come to one of these before, this was your first one that you've ever
Yeah.
come to. What would you say? How would you describe the vibe to someone who was uninitiated?
So it's interesting because, like, for me, having met at least a few of the people at the table, I already know at least a few people who I would say is quote unquote I'm safe to talk to.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way to put it. Being able to just like in words, how do they work? Truly a mystery.
Mystery, yeah.
Yeah. It's the TF starting, please. But like one of the things another thing that also kind of pull up in here, starting to talk to like the people who I was with on my side of the table for our little dinner. We didn't start talking about TF. It didn't really come up that much in general, to be completely frank.
Mhm.
Which is one of the more interesting things. It's like you can talk to so many people who are like, yeah, we have this shared connection, but then you just end up talking about how much you got interrogated trying to enter the fucking country earlier
A
today.
surprisingly common experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, indeed.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I mean that is something I've noticed too. Like both at the both in the TF dinners and in the past at the furry dinners, the topics that brought us together were not necessarily always discussed at the dinners. It was just like, okay, we all have this common interest. That said, let's just talk about stuff that we don't know if we have common interests in.
Almost as if we're saying that, like, by meeting other TF people, you're humanizing them.
I mean, like, it's a really good point because I've talked with some friends about it where some people try to, like, create friendships that are completely predicated on that one thing. I like TF. You like TF. Let's be best buddies. sometimes that works, but it's not going to be the same for everybody. Certainly, it's nice to kind of like expand beyond those topics and talk about other things. Like we've been talking about some of our favorite YouTube channels. Some really not controversial ones. Well, only if you're a former fundamentalist. If you are a fundamentalist.
If I can add to that, I think something that I carry as like foundations for friendship is that you want to make sure that you're genuinely interested in building friendships. Like, yes, we're here with a common interest, but at the end of the day, I'm not here for your interest. I'm here for your friendship. I want to get to know you. I want to get to know how life looks around you. And if we're anywhere down the line, we can get to connect in a TF, either in chats or, whatever that capacity looks like, cool. But I think something, especially for us furries, we have to learn how to make friendships without expectations. Suddenly we come across like, oh, I know this person and I love their art. Maybe I can get, just go there, be genuine, be your best self, but don't come with expectations of what you want to happen. Because not only there's a high chance that it's not going to happen, you're going to end up sabotaging yourself because you're going to get disappointed very quickly. So yeah, just come with expectations, come there to have fun, come with like a very...
an open mind, you would say?
And treat people like people instead of just objects.
What's people?
People's a state of
Real, real people.
Yeah, I feel so serious.
But I mean, like, you make a really good point, especially like when you're a content producer and a fandom. There's some people that have expectations, and when they meet that content producer, you're going to be my friend.
Not that I've ever heard that before.
Well, you had a fair few experiences.
Yeah, I was going to say a bunch. So I started out in real life meeting with only furries and wearing my silicone mask and stuff, and all the furries were like, what the fuck? They're like, this is weird, and what the fuck are you doing? And everyone who's not a furry and not into TF says, okay, she's a furry. But I don't necessarily like vibe with that label, because all the furries are like, what the fuck is this? You're not one of us.
Interesting.
Yeah, because like it's a smaller community, like it's the local Toronto community, right?
Yeah.
So they all knew each other, and then me come in, and not a single person has anything even close to what I have for my costumes. So I didn't really feel super welcome. I didn't really get to, I didn't know what I was going. I was like, they're like, well, what are you? I'm like, well, I'm into transformation. They're like, well, why is that? So. Well, that was okay for like a year or two when I just knew the furry people, but then when I actually started to go into the transformation circles, when I actually did start to meet transformation people in real life, I felt so much more comfortable. Yeah, because I didn't have to explain that, and because it's such a big part of my life and my personality, it was just so much better to just have that as a baseline, so that we could talk about anything else and tie that into the conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important point too. The fact that having it as that baseline allows it to just be a common topic that doesn't always have to come up, but it's something that you have that shared connection to. That's something that's so important and central to a lot of how we conceptualize ourselves. You know,
it comes up in so much. It comes up in our so much of our expression, so much of our you just wearing paws. Why are you just wearing paws right now? If you're furry, no, it's because it's this transformation thing.
Transformation.
Why do I have these ears on right now? I'm not a fairy. I don't know. It's a partial transformation thing. I did not have to explain that to a single person at the table why I'm wearing fangs and ears.
Exactly.
They know what is going on.
They know.
It's just it's a shared fantasy space.
Yeah.
Where we can just be ourselves and not have to explain anything.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Angela Quinton, somebody that we've had the opportunity to hang out with more often, and a former guest on the show. And she likes the idea of being referred to as a creature person, or there being creature people, and that's a pretty cool idea.
I love that label. I've started using it.
It's a very open label that still communicates something that people can generally understand. So if you're not a furry, but you want to be certain ways or have little parts you change and stuff like that, you like to express it by doing what Zill's doing or wearing fangs like Cataena's doing. It's just a good thing to just help express yourself, maybe help other people understand it if that's the thing that you want to do. Mm-hmm. But that is kind of the bridge to cross for people who are doing anything in person, because like Koru said, when you want to sit down and talk to people, you are wondering about the connection that you're going to be making and how the interests intersect. If you have made any friends before based on an interest, you find out that you soon stop talking about the thing that you both have in common, and eventually you just start asking how the other guy's day was, and then suddenly you're talking about each other to each other.
Yeah.
So we almost never talk about transformation at the dinners unless someone goes, hey, it's kind of funny that we never talk about transformation at these dinners.
It's true,
and
yeah.
we talk about it.
Or we'll make jokes if we're like wearing something specific that's clearly alluding to it. Like,
Our friend here who didn't give me the password in time for the bathroom.
For the bathroom,
I'm gonna punish you.
yeah. Oh
I'm
no.
gonna turn you into because
You guys will not find anymore. I will lose my human form tonight.
Yeah. You've been a bad boy.
I have been. Oh my gosh, wait, I'm blushing. But yeah, something I do like think about when conversations come around, and not because it's popular. Like right now, there is this TikTok about like being very mindful, very demure, that I absolutely love. But I think you also have, we as people, not as furries, but you as people in like relationships and friendships, have to be very careful about learning how to read a vibe. I think sometimes. And I understand there are events, for example, what's happening with the FA, that, yeah, it's happening, it's controversial, but sometimes you have to read the room. Sometimes the vibe's a lot more chill, and you don't want to come in and bring very controversial topics to the table because, you know, that's not what the conversation is going around. You have to, and I know it's very difficult because a lot of in the furry community are very much in the spectrum, and it's hard to learn social cues, to learn how to read body language, all of that. But I think it's something that you have to perfect to be good at friendships in general. Just because I have found myself, as Sil knows, I love hosting at a place, and I have people very often at my apartment. And I have run into the issue that sometimes there's people that do not know how to do these things, and they start bringing down not just the energy, but just bring these weird conversation topics, or they have this type of behaviors that just makes the other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I think in the best effort for you, I don't want to say to be invited, but just to be part of any type of community, any type of friendship, it's good for you to learn how to read the room, how to learn what other people are talking about, learn how to do small talk, find a trivial topic, learn about it, share what you want, wait for your turn, because I mean it when I say it. There's nothing more unfortunate than to meet someone new and for them to make a really bad impression of themselves. And I urge everyone that can listen, just take a moment. You know, if you don't know what to say, that's okay. Take a breather. Nothing's judging you. Not one's rushing you to talk. So take a moment. Enjoy listening to each other. And at the end of the day, you're just there to have fun. Find a place where you can enjoy yourself amidst everything that's happening.
I think that's actually a really important point too, because one of the things I think that we do a lot of at the dinner is not so much talking, it's listening. And I think that word is so important because there's a difference between hearing and listening. And I think that in a lot of conversational spaces, oftentimes online, people really feel like they're kind of being talked at instead of being spoken with. And then, you know, the reciprocation is maybe they're not being listened to, they're just being heard. I think that something that I like to at least think we do at the dinners is that we actually do listen to one another in terms of what they're saying, and we engage with their topics and like what's going on with them and what they want to like chat about. And it's really unique, in my opinion, to have that experience in one of these kinds of spaces. Because, I mean, I've been in many of them, and there's only a few over the years where I've really felt like listened to. But this is definitely one of those spaces, and I really very much cherish it. It's why, like, after COVID, I was like, well, we need to, like, have these again and, like, get them started again. Because, I mean, I have the organizer bug, unfortunately, but also, I really value those spaces for myself, too. And I think that like we all at this table have had the chance to have that experience of being listened to at these dinners that I think is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Zil said, it's really calls it unique because that's how rare it feels. Like this can only be this is the only like phenomenon for us that's gone down this well so far. Mm-hmm. But even then, there's like snags. To build on what Koru said earlier, I agree with all that. Also realize that there is room to like make mistakes and actually a few bad impressions and then rebuild and recover from that, because that's always going to happen. Always. Yeah. Especially when I say very loud things that make people say, what did you just say? And then I just double down on it and see if they actually will stick with me.
When you're shouting fetish in the chat time at 10 p.m.?
I said horny. I said hi, horny.
When you're
should have said gaping hole. Gaping hole at the restaurant? Yeah.
Or when we yell about cheesecake back there.
Oh. There's
Donate $20 if you want to hear about the cheesecake.
No. If you want a fight night, you become $100 a month. We will train, and we will actually film a real sparring match between us.
We will.
But
Yeah.
will it be at a cheesecake factory?
We don't
Well,
have do we have an Toronto?
We have one in Toronto. Yorkdale.
Okay. So what we'll do is that we'll get you a nice sponsorship deal. You'll wear that, and I'll ask to see if Juniors wants any part of me to represent their cheesecake.
Can I be a referee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, a referee is an important part of a match. I've learned this.
I don't know how to referee. I'll learn.
I'm sure you'll do an amazing job
Yeah.
for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. It's definitely great for the spirit and the mind
Yeah.
to be able to do things like this with people face to face, and just realize that you can get along with others, that you actually do belong in this species. Yes, you do. You belong with everybody else in some way. It's hard to make friends these days, and it's harder than it needs to be, yes. But it also is a mutual effort that has to be made. You can also be disappointed in people that just don't follow up on anything. I think Koru also mentioned that too, because people just don't want to seem to follow up with things sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes they just flake out on you, which is whatever, but it can be disappointing.
Well, also, the thing is that sometimes it does take a lot of effort to continue things, and sometimes it can take quite a bit of energy. Some people just don't have the energy to do that, but that will mean that they're more likely to be lonely.
Yeah.
Which is a damn shame.
Yeah. There's a 1-to-1 correlation and a trade-off in terms of if you're not able to put in the energy, then you can end up with those feelings. And it's tough. And I understand, especially with so much that is going on right now for so many folks, it can be really difficult to find the capacity to do those kinds of social things. But if you don't make the effort, then no one is going to come along and save you from yourself.
Yeah, and the fact that these happen every month rather than every week, it means that one doesn't need to feel as much of an obligation, oh my god, I need to set aside every single week this time. It's okay, every month, that's every 30 or so days. I can handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have to do anything that's difficult, make it as easy as possible for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but I should be doing it. It doesn't matter how much you should. You have to start somewhere, and starting it means that you got to do it any way you can.
And doing anything is good.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. No one's expecting folks to jump into something full throttle. But if you're doing a little thing and you do it consistently, that is a hell of a lot better than just doing it once and then not doing it again. I because I'm jock brain TF'd right now, I very much think of it like going to the gym. If people can go to the gym at different cadences, do different amounts of workouts or whatever, but if they're doing it consistently, whatever that consistency means to them, it makes a world of a difference, and you can really see results from that. So finding your own pace and finding your own consistency is obviously going to differ for every single individual. But if you can find that consistency and stick to it, again, it'll make a world of a difference.
Yeah.
No, you go first.
Oh my gosh, so kind. And I think just in the effort of consistency, there's also the space of make sure that you are in your best mental health space. Give yourself the time, because we all have very different social batteries, will have different social temperatures. And it's important for you that if you're going to a social interaction, you want to come with the best foot forward. If you know you've had a bad week, if you know that there's a lot going on in your mind, of course, make use of your support system. But at the same time, choose your battles. Sometimes you won't have the energy to go to a meeting, and that's okay. Yeah. It's important for you to make sure that you are checking out with yourself what you're being capable of. Even financially, going out is a financial. We go out to eat, we go to restaurants. You don't have to push yourself to do things that you can't. So make sure you're checking yourself. Are your finances okay for you to handle? If not, pivot, find a way that we can meet, or that doesn't require as much expenses. Make sure you're taking time for your mental health, and just checking with yourself. You don't push yourself to the point that you bring yourself to a deteriorative state, because not only you're not going to enjoy, you're also going to slowly taking away the joy from these type of events for yourself. So just checking with yourself, make sure that you're doing okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that I shouldn't have come to this the day after I got back from Norway?
You are different. You are obligated to be here.
Cataena's built different, okay? Everyone could dream to be as slaying as she's.
Seriously, no.
And I would make something here, if that's okay, that sometimes if you're feeling down and you're thinking, I can't come to these, sometimes actually going to them can actually boost your mood. And the fact that there's food involved, just eating can do miracles.
So you mean like going to a restaurant that doesn't fucking suck?
Buenas.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
If I could actually throw a comment in, like
Yeah.
while we're talking about like the whole importance of the mental health, taking care of yourself, I think that one thing I'd like to also kind of like raise in there, communication is really important. And so like to give a little bit of context, I'm hard of hearing and I have a hearing aid on the right side of my head. I can't hear on the left side. And while I'm very used to telling friends that I've been friends with for a long time, hey, I need to sit on the left side of the room so I can hear everybody, I was a little bit nervous about actually saying so to the group the first time I actually came to the dinners. But the moment that I actually got to talk to some folks and say like, hey, this is something that helps me out as a person with a disability, you will often be surprised just how accommodating people are just by voicing your disability or voicing your concerns about your mental health or whatever, taking moments to step back when you need to. All of those are very appropriate options. And then the second thing I just wanted to also highlight is that on the theme of expectations, sometimes when you meet people for the first time in real life, especially if you've known them online for a while, they're not necessarily always going to match. I have some folks where I'm just like, okay, I'm not such a huge fan of them online, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really cool in person.
Yeah.
And then I've met some that are like, oh wow, I really like them online, and I'm like, this person is problematic. So it's like, you have to, people are not problematic.
It's me. I am the drama.
It's always the Spanish guys.
It's coming from a Spanish dude.
It's the conqueror, Mexico.
You're conquering Toronto, aren't you?
Okay, things are getting spicy here.
Can I actually read?
I was gonna read it.
Yeah, go. I really want to make sure Cataena can read out this and very important meme, which I think really wonderfully summarizes what you're describing.
Which Zill and I send to each other all the time
All the
because
time.
it always comes up and it's just a Bratz doll.
Yeah.
It's a very sparkly Bratz
You
doll.
gotta send me that image so I can show it to
Yeah,
people.
And it says, so nice to meet you. Oh, I'm different to how you expected. Less fun and flirty. Painfully shy and awkward rather than hip and edgy. You were expecting me to be funny and hot, but actually I'm a traumatized mess. You must have been fooled by my internet persona. Sorry for the misunderstanding.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm in this picture and I don't like it.
But yeah, just be open-minded because, you know, people will always surprise you, but don't, at the same time, don't read a book by its cover.
Yeah, it takes layers. Some people are very upfront, and sometimes you got to kind of wait it out. It's always different, so you find out one way or the other. But that's only if you get practice at it.
Yes.
And what's our latest favorite mantra? I'm scared. Well, then do it, but scared.
Yeah.
Get scared.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can cry the whole time if you want, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
You won't regret it, even though you feel like you are. It's always better.
Yeah.
But what is it? God, I think it was. No, I don't know where. I heard it through fucking DMX. I don't think he made it up. There's like to live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I know it's very dramatic, but I think that's how a lot of people feel when they're just alone and they feel like they don't have anybody or anything.
And who amongst us doesn't like a little suffering as they change?
A little
Right?
bit.
Like, you know?
There's got to be a little bit of pushback.
At the very
Exactly.
least, make it a little itchy.
Yeah, exactly.
Itchy. It's okay.
I mean, I feel the burn all the time at the gym, and I'm transforming, so I'm down with this.
Oh yeah, those transformation's real. Transformation's real.
Transformation's real, guys.
Yeah. Don't
I'm
ever
going
forget
through it right now.
I'm turning into a rock climbing something, I think. I'm going to try it again this weekend. Not weekend, actually this Friday.
Yeah.
It'll be nice. Yeah. And that's with people that I met at the rock climbing place with Zill and Curious Fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the reason I bring this up is the two guys that we ended up talking to and hanging around, they do not look like people that you would ever see hanging around with us. I look at those guys and I told them to their faces, like, you guys look like you lift. You guys should be able to do like this climbing stuff pretty well. But they also have never done it before, so they understand that this is a different world, this is a different discipline. So they're looking at Curious Fox like, holy shit, look at how good he is, because he has a ton of experience rock climbing and doing a bunch of different paths. And although he's not exactly like a super expert, he's quite advanced. So he can tell everybody what to do. So no matter how often we did it, no matter how built or unbuilt anybody was, everybody was an equal. And everybody addressed each other as such. And that's when you start to realize that if you just approach people in a really like, in just like a basic way without an expectation, as has been said before, just this conversation, you can be surprised at how you can actually click with people. There's also this other thing that we've got a bunch of little sayings to just, in case one of them sticks in your head. Like, people got to be like puzzle pieces. Puzzle pieces can never be exactly the same, but they got to have like the right differences so they can click into each other, you know?
We're getting real metaphorical today.
Yeah, lots of, in case you have trouble conceptualizing it, there's always this idea, it ends up like floating to the top of, you need somebody who understands you exactly and likes what you do in exactly the way that you do. Otherwise, it's not perfect. That's why people have trouble starting relationships if they don't have the same interests, especially if it's this.
Yeah, it's better if things aren't totally perfect. Like, and if you don't mind, can I tell a little story that really fits in with that idea? This is a story from a 1700s rabbi, and it goes like this. Once there was a king, and he had a diamond that he cared about more than anything. Well, one day he sees that there's a scratch on the diamond, and it hurts him as though there were a scratch on his heart. So he calls in all the jewelers of the kingdom and from beyond and asks them, can you remove this scratch from my dear diamond? And they say, it's a diamond. No, we can't. This is the hardest thing in the world. Finally, he's getting to the end of his leash, and finally one jeweler says, I can fix it. I can't get rid of the scratch, but I can fix it. So he's like, okay, this is better than anything I've heard. Fine, here you go. And so the guy takes the diamond. A few days later, he comes back. Oh, the scratch is still there, but his jeweler has turned it into the stem of an etched rose. And the king says to him, you've made it even more beautiful than it was before the scratch. And that's just how it is with people, too. Like, sometimes it's better that people are imperfect. Because, like, if someone is perfect, they can be very boring. Yes. If you have imperfections, there's something interesting going on.
Yeah, there's something to relate to, because none of us are perfect, and a lot of us have a lot of shit going on.
Mm-hmm. We all got scratches.
Yeah, and sometimes it's really about embracing different. I'm the kind of person where I love making friendships with people that are different. It's nice to be able to talk about things that I don't know anything about. Like, I hung out with you guys and I learned about fountain pens, and I got to hold one that was $500, and I'm like, there's inks that glow. There is some that glow, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah, there's inks that glow. There's inks with glitter in them, and I'm like, I didn't know this before, but I got to actually experience that by hanging out with some of you guys. And, you know, different is better. You don't always need to find people that like the exact same things you do. And then, for all you know, you might pick up a brand new, very expensive hobby.
Although all of the inks that I get, I get a bunch of the transformation-related inks.
Yeah.
So to be fair, it does also tie back sometimes.
Transformation is real, and it's every fucking where.
Like the no longer human inks. We have a Toronto company that makes transformation story-themed inks. So we have like the Wild Swans, we have the Blue Barrel Tonics from Alice in Wonderland will Shrink You, and all of them say transformation on the box, which is really funny.
Yeah.
Omnia mutanter nihil interit. Everything changes. Nothing's really lost.
Yeah. And also, because you guys were talking about you can't even date someone who's not into TF. I'm dating two different people who are into TF, and we don't share the same exact transformation things.
No, we don't.
We don't at all. But also, I've gotten you into things, and you've gotten me into things, and Felix has got me and Felix has also gotten us each other into things that we would have never given a second thought before, because once you're with someone, you can see things from their perspective. They can really show you in detail, unlike a friend, you live with them, or you're with them in such a way that they will show you the beauty of the things that they like, and you'll share that with them. yeah, you can always grow as a partnership with different interests.
Yeah. I'd like to say that if you're looking for somebody who shares a lot in common with the TF interest and shit like that, I try to find somebody who's like closer to my wavelength. Not me exactly.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to have like the level or the kinds of things that you like and the ways that you do it with the context that you do. But you get somebody who's close to the wavelength, it's very nice. That's what happened with Cataena and I. It's really, really good that way.
I agree. I think if you're looking just to build any type of relationship, you cannot expect to be someone to be equally as you in any kind of way. Especially with TF, as we all come to understand, it's so wide. There's so many avenues where you can go. And I think something that I have found myself is getting to experience TF to other people's eyes. Like something that I didn't know, like very recent, like nanites. Huge thing that came to me this afternoon specifically.
Thank you, Felix.
And I have to say, like, it's just type of things that you come across someone else's brain and having them solve you and share the way they experience things. That's what like makes life so nice because you get to see other people's way of thinking, perspectives, and if you come with expectation of you getting catered to all your specific tastes, it's not gonna happen realistically.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we went, I think we kept going to the same point. Just come with an open mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said you like nanite TF now?
Oh my gosh.
I have a story to send you.
I showed him Felix's rep sheet.
Good.
So good.
It's very good. The one other thing I wanted to mention was, in a way, I think these TF dinners have allowed for this podcast to even happen in the first place. Because, I only met, Libra and Cataena through FE at first, and then kind of came into some of the TF dinners, and we got to know each other better. And y'all invited me over to your place, and we played Overcooked. And, that didn't have anything to do with TF, but it was being a common... having a common lore to our interactions, I think, helped too.
Yeah, I think what people can take away from this also is the real advantage to meeting up with people based on a particular interest is knowing that you could bring it up easily without having to explain it and without it being very strange. So when you're coming into this, sure, if you want, you could bring up topics about it or whatever you like, or just ask questions. You can do that stuff, and that's the advantage. It's not going to be the meat of every conversation, and I don't think it should be. But the very fact that I could just bring something up, Seadog over there, I brought up earlier, like, hey, you ever watch When Animals Dream? And you know why I'm talking about it. I don't have to explain that. I don't have to explain exactly why I'm bringing it up, although you wouldn't really have to do that with a movie anyway. But it's just cool to be able to bring it up in that capacity. It was like, if you know, you know, and we happen to know. And that's good.
Yeah. And one really important thing, when getting to meet anyone, something that my mom always tells me and that I've taken to heart, be curious. Even if you don't feel interested in what people are saying, if you even pretend to be, you quickly will be. Yeah. Because there is a really amazing ability with the brain. Like, sometimes when you pretend, it can become quite real. Yeah. But again, this goes back to the transforming thing. Like, if you feel like you're changing, psychologically at the very least, you are.
Yeah. And I think that there's a component to every friendship of, maybe you weren't necessarily interested in something first, but you got interested in, or at least came to appreciate it over time because you actually gave that sort of interest. And I think that's a fundamental part of any real friendship. You're not always going to be into every single thing the other person's into, but if you can at least show the other person that you care by paying attention, I think that goes such a long way. And I wish a lot of people would take that lesson to heart, because I think sometimes folks have forgotten it. So,
like when people say, "What the fuck are you talking about?" If you actually mean that question and are going to listen after, that's not bad.
No, it's a good thing.
I do ask people, "What are you fucking talking about?" And they'll explain it, and I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah.
That's nice. So, I think it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate everybody who threw down, their stories and their feelings on it. Any final thoughts for listeners? Nah,
There's a ton of us. There's so many of us in the world. You're gonna find them eventually.
yeah. And so many more are getting made every day. See, that's the thing. If you also expose yourself to people outside of the circle, please do that. Please look outside of the circle.
Do not be socially incestuous.
Yes, please don't do that. You'll actually make some new fans too. Because God, I've done it. Who the fuck was flashing? Anyway,
Taking photos of Zill's tail.
Oh, that's fine.
As they did.
yeah, okay, sure.
I'm also carting around the recording device in pause, so I can't
Yes.
fully grasp it. So I'm like having to lift it with like the sides of my hands because I can't grab them because I don't have thumbs.
Having a good beastie moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying, it's just
That we exist and there's a ton of us. Yes.
yes,
Yeah, you exist in the context of everything that came before you.
yeah.
You thought you fell out of a coconut tree?
Become unburdened,
By what has been.
bitches.
Live life.
Yep. All right. Well, all right. Thanks everybody for joining us on this listen. Hope you enjoyed it. It's really funny to do this kind of thing in public, really, really loudly. And that's another
Very
thing.
loudly.
Yeah, you can do this. You can do this confidently if you want, and other people can be weird about it, and they're really not going to say anything.
People might be staring at you as you're wearing something strange, and you can just not give a fuck.
Yeah,
That is something you can do. You can always just not give a fuck and live your best life.
Or you can just look them in the eye and be like, "Yes, would you like to know more?"
Wink, wink.
Wink, 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 wink.
But yeah,
Alright.
we're probably going to get kicked out soon because the place is closing. But thank you everyone for listening. I hope you all had an enjoyable time listening. And, keep an open mind, stay TFE, stay hydrated, sleep more than 7 hours, please. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Like more than 7 hours. I got to try to get more than 6. Sleep sucks for me.
Okay, bye.
Bye.